Hi, this is Ren,
This is KC.
and this is All Walks of Film.
So we saw Christopher Robin a little while ago. We saw it the opening weekend it came out. You really enjoyed it. I'm dead inside and have no soul, so obviously I didn't like it.
Yeah, I thought it was a delightful film. Now, granted, the only issue that I had with the movie was it had a skeleton of a better movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my really big problem with the movie was it sets up so many plot points and elements and pieces of the character study that are just dropped and don't go anywhere. I thought the best part was the opening sequence in which you kind of go through Christopher Robin's very young life where he's dealing with the trauma of being abandoned by his family when he gets sent to a boarding school, where he deals with the death of his father, where he gets sent to war, and then the trauma of being in war, and then, he comes back and he's missed like the first 3 or 4 years of his daughter's life during that time, and that's really hard. And the only thing that's actually ever a point in the entire film is the last part. He missed the very beginning of his daughter's life. Everything else is never brought up. And it's very weird because, the opening of the movie is when you're kind of, at your most clean slate, you're paying attention to everything, you're seeing what's important, what you need to know, and none of those other elements come up in a substantial way at all in the movie. It's really awkward and weird, and it kind of set me up for, a totally different movie. Because I had thought that it was going to be Christopher Robin the adult kind of going through and undoing some of his lifelong traumas with the help of his imaginary friends, the Winnie the Pooh characters.
Yeah, I thought the movie set up themes of discovering childhood happiness and delights, when childhood has essentially been robbed by you through having to grow up really fast and then having to deal with PTSD, which those elements did feed into the beginning of the movie, and it
just disappeared into thin air.
Yeah, and I have to chalk that up a lot to the fact that Disney never wants to make their films harsh, or may I be a little bit more clear? Disney used to do that kind of stuff with their live action films, but they've gotten so in tune with trying to keep their stuff really safe, really family friendly, without any sort of controversy or anything that it's actually dulling their movies. Now, like I said before, I still find the film very delightful. The thing that I like about the movie is they really nailed the characters.
They did. The Winnie the Pooh characters.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Piglet is fantastic. I like Tigger and some of the other ones, not as much.
Eeyore was he kind of stole the show in this movie. He was definitely kind of put very prominently front and center for a lot of it.
Yeah,
which was a smart idea. Everyone loves Eeyore.
Yeah, Eeyore was always my favorite character in Winnie the Pooh, and I think the only complaint that I would make about Eeyore is the movie never took his sadness or loneliness with seriousness. It was kind of a joke in the movie,
yeah.
Oh, Eeyore,
you don't
it's
like
his
anything.
way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what I've always loved about Eeyore is how in the books and in a lot of the animated films, Eeyore's depression is always there, and it's a fact of life that everyone knows and accepts, but nobody tries to fix it in a positive way. They're just very accepting of him being who he is and doing what he's gonna do. Not oh, Eeyore, you shouldn't be so down. You should just chipper up and just not be sad anymore. They're never trying to do something dumb like that. So to kind of make him the butt of the joke because he's kind of sad, but they didn't really focus on how sad he was. He was more just kind of a grumpy puss.
Yeah.
I do agree, though. The Winnie the Pooh characters were the best part. Like, the best parts of the movie are all the parts where the humans are not in it or are in it very slightly. It's really all the parts in the 100 Acre Woods. Those are all the great parts of the movie. But my big issue is just that's not most of the movie. Most of the movie is not about the Winnie the Pooh characters. And when it gets to the point where the Winnie the Pooh characters are taken out of their environments and they're kind of just like running amok in London, it's too the most recent Peter Rabbit movie for me, where it was just kind of like,
think
dude,
it goes
are
that
you
far.
serious? It doesn't go that far, but it's in that vein of humor where it's like, are these even the Winnie the Pooh characters? Why are there car crashes and they're trying to like escape in the luggage, and like it just became like really over the top, and you were kind of losing the connection with the characters by that point.
Well, I can get what you say as far as tone, because one of the things that makes Winnie the Pooh very different than most other Disney properties is there's always a much calmer level with Winnie the Pooh. Like, Winnie the Pooh doesn't have...
It's just mellow. It's just really mellow. And I like that. And the animated films in general were very good about that as well. Like, when I was growing up, it was something I always kind of liked because it wasn't like, ooh, hey there, kids, like, let's throw things at you and go too fast and lots of pop culture references and we're going to be super hyperactive and get your, give you your sugar rush fix, but like through your TV. It was just kind of like,
fortunately,
this is nice. It's just nice.
Fortunately, this was an Illumination production, so there wasn't any...
Oh, God. Can you even imagine an Illumination production of Winnie the Pooh? Oh, God. Oh, no.
Seeing what they're doing with The Grinch Who Stole Christmas is enough to know that they just can't handle it.
They can't handle it. No, they really can't.
Yeah.
We should... At one point, not right now, but we should talk about that because I have so many thoughts. I'm so upset with the Illumination Grinch nonsense thing. Ugh, every time I see a trailer, it just gets further and further away. Anyways, so yeah, my big problem is the 100 Acre Woods Winnie the Pooh storyline is not much in the movie. Most of the movie is the Ewan McGregor, Christopher Robin storyline, and it is very dull. It's very boring. It's very predictable. We've seen it a million times. It's every Cats in the Cradle, Christmas Carol story. It's a lot of the shit that we saw in like the 80s and 90s of, the white upper class dad who works too hard. It's very Mary Poppins without the magical elements, the upper class white dad who works too hard and the kids are like just trying to be kids, and he has to come to realize that he needs to tap into his childhood self in order to reconnect with his children and to be a better dad, or his child, singular. It's all very dull, like.
And getting back to the idea of this had the skeleton of a much better movie is because I've always thought that the Winnie the Pooh characters were manifestations of Christopher Robin's psyche. Mm-hmm. And it's been heavily implied that that's the case.
They're his imaginary friends.
Yeah, they're his imaginary friends, and like they each represent a different part of him. And since you have an older Christopher Robin, and since all the stuffed animals that he's been friends with, have like an older look, it seems that the characters should have manifested themselves a little bit more to how he is now. But in doing so, also help him to rekindle his enjoyment of the smaller things in life, which has always kind of been what Winnie the Pooh
has been about. Yeah. That's always been the heart of Winnie the Pooh, for sure. I did expect it from the opening, not like from the trailers or the advertisements or anything.
Yeah, the opening really ruins the rest of the movie
really
because
does. Yeah, because I went into the movie expecting the movie that it was, and I was like not necessarily super excited to see it for that reason. That and the Disney live action films don't impress me. So I was already kind of at like a low standard with what I was expecting from the movie. But then that opening happened, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot more intriguing than I had anticipated. This is going to be a lot more like a more chilled out, mellow, accessible, mature Inside Out, where it's like trying to teach adults and children alike some tools for how to like be healthy in their emotional expression. And then no, it turned out to be exactly the movie that I always thought it was going to be, which is disappointing.
I will say that, at least I would say, from the Disney live action adaptations that I've seen. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're both a little bit sick, so just clear my throat a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. From the Disney live action films that I've seen, this at least attempted to do something a little bit more different and interesting. Like, kind of my problem with most of the Disney live action reboots / remakes is that they feel completely uninspired. Like, they're just cookie cutter adaptations of like what we saw. Like, the worst example being the Beauty and the Beast. Which can't even like be half as good as the animated film, and
it's easily the worst Beauty and the Beast movie ever made, like, really clearly. And I'm saying that as somebody who has also seen all of the Beauty and the Beast spin-offs. I will watch Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas a million times over the stupid live action one. Like, oh dear God, like, there are some problematic elements, but at least Tim Curry being kind of a gay organ is fine. He has a good musical number.
Yeah, I mean,
Bernadette Peters is in it too. She's good.
I could have used a little bit less pratfalling in Winnie the Pooh, because, you know, that was something that was pretty prominent in the film and just doesn't feel very much in the tune of Winnie the Pooh style humor. Yeah, that worked for other things, but not necessarily Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, not here. And I will say, this is where I think you and I kind of come down on it, where I'm like, it's not different. I think that this is exactly as cookie cutter, just silly obnoxiousness as every other Disney live action movie except for Maleficent.
I just really liked the relationship of Ewan McGregor and Winnie the Pooh when they had their small moments together talking. And
I only liked Winnie the Pooh's part. Like, Winnie the Pooh was genuinely, like, really wonderful, and he had some wonderful lines, and Ewan McGregor was like a freaking brick wall. Ewan McGregor is a very good actor, and he is not a good actor in this movie. He does not bring anything to the scenes he has with Winnie the Pooh. Like, that is all on Jim Cummings and the animators, and some decent work put into a script, unfortunately for me. But I do agree, like, Winnie the Pooh was super charming in that movie. I would watch a whole movie with that Winnie the Pooh. But then it just makes me annoyed when he's not around, and I'm just like, why am I even here, really?
Yeah, so we recorded a podcast before this because we hadn't seen Goodbye Christopher Robin, and some of our complaints were like, oh, well, maybe we need to watch this other film to, like, kind of see if our complaints are exacerbated by watching that film. And I would say very much so, because I kept on talking to you about themes of PTSD and the fact that the balloon should have, like, triggered something. Because, you know, you show the balloon, you have a guy that clearly has PTSD, you know.
None of those things came up. And yeah. I had the exact same thoughts when I was watching it, too. Especially the point where they're in the woods, and he pulls out his compass, and he's like, oh yeah, this compass, it's from the war. And he turns it over, and you can see from, like, the smoldered metal on the back that, like, some really dark, violent shit went down.
Yeah, and
never touched upon again. Doesn't come up. Not important.
And I blame that a lot on Disney's new MO.
I don't, because both of these movies were PG.
Well,
so there's no excuse. Like, there's no excuse.
One's Fox Searchlight and the other's Disney, which nowadays...
But they're both PG.
Nowadays, the thing that has me scared is the fact that Fox Searchlight is owned by Disney. We're possibly not going to get movies like this, Goodbye Christopher Robin, anymore, or, something a little bit more hard edge. I know that we are probably going to lose any R-rated Marvel movies in the near future. I know that Sony is now pushing Venom, which was originally going to be an R-rated movie, into a PG-13 movie because they want to put Spider-Man in it and all that kind of stuff. So,
I also think that was an act of self-preservation. I think that they initially pushed for that R rating because they thought it would help them, and then I think when they saw a lot of the they've done a lot of course correction based on fan reaction to the trailers, which I don't think is a smart move. But since they're doing that, I think a lot of that is they don't want people to come out of Venom being like, why was that rated R? The same way they did with The Killing Joke. I think that they decided to do some course correction, just make it more accessible, and you can hide a lot of your faults behind the PG-13 rating.
Yeah, but
I don't think a lot of that has to do with Disney.
But going back to Christopher Robin, like I said, my complaints with the Disney Christopher Robin movie was that, it seemed to hint towards elements of PTSD and stuff and didn't seem to go anywhere. Goodbye Christopher Robin, during the beginning of the movie, was very much about PTSD. And a lot of those themes did play into it. And part of me thinks that because this movie came out, they might have pushed some of those elements back because they didn't want to be seen as stealing those or something like that.
Which
but I think hurts the film.
It does, but it's so interesting putting these two movies side by side. And for the record, I think Goodbye Christopher Robin was a fantastic film. I think it was really well written. I think it had really strong ideas, really good focus. I think that the performances were much, much better. And I think a lot of the scenes were a lot more genuinely emotional and heartfelt. Like, that sense of, oh, that's really nice, wonderful, like, childhood sense of wonder, I caught a lot more in Goodbye Christopher Robin, the quote-unquote darker, more edgy one of the two. I think it actually did a much better job of achieving those, like, happier, kinder emotions than the Disney Christopher Robin.
I did also think it was interesting that they decided to make Christopher Robin's daughter in the Disney film a girl instead of, the boy. And
that's what makes it really interesting to put these two things side by side, is because the Christopher Robin movie is under no circumstance whatsoever even close to a period piece. It's not historically accurate. It's not about the story behind Winnie the Pooh.
Even though the PD and the costuming is so meticulously period accurate that
the costuming and PD are way better in the Christopher Robin Disney movie. Jenny Beavan's costume designs are far better than anything.
I hope it gets Oscar.
It will.
Yeah.
It will, because it's a Disney period piece, quote unquote. So, yes, it absolutely will. But to be fair to the Goodbye Christopher Robin, you could see that it's a significantly lower budget movie. Yeah. And that shows a lot in the production design. But comparing these two movies side by side, it is the Christopher Robin Disney movie is not under any circumstances a period piece. It's not historically accurate. It's not even based in history whatsoever. And you can see a lot of it just as a casual Winnie the Pooh person, where the thing with the dad is just dropped out of nowhere, and it's why didn't you bring up the dad? The dad's the one who wrote the books. He's the one who helped create the characters. Then you also have the fact that in the movie his name is Christopher Robin. His name in real life is not Christopher Robin. His name is Christopher Robin Milne, or C.R. Milne. But in the movie, his last name is Robin. like, his name is full stop Christopher Robin. So you can see that they were trying really hard to, like, just completely divorce themselves from any sort of historical accuracy. And I think that that was a smart move, considering the story they wanted to tell. I still don't think Winnie the Pooh was the right vehicle for the story they wanted to tell, but as long as you're going to do that, you need to do some conscious things in order to not be quite as disrespectful. Like, in real life, C.R. Milne's daughter, her name is Claire, she had cerebral palsy all her life. I understand, though, considering the story of Christopher Robin having a lot of trouble being being exploited as a child, you might just want to totally reinvent the daughter character and just not have that have anything to do with reality. Like, that's not a bad idea, actually. But then, like, the whole thing of, like, oh, he grew up and he worked for a luggage company. Well, that's not anything close to the truth. That never happened.
Yeah, but I don't think that the Disney movie is trying in any way, shape, or form to make the Christopher Robin the Mill son.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I do appreciate that Disney did try to, like, make that very explicitly at the forefront. Like, hey, you guys, this isn't a history lesson. Yeah. This is literally just us having fun with the idea.
Right. So
you kind of just have to let go of a lot of those things. But then you have the Goodbye Christopher Robin, which the historical accuracy, I'm not entirely sure about a lot of it, but the basic ideas of it, A.A. Milne's actual PTSD, the strained relationship he had with C.R. Milne, the really, really bad relationship that C.R. Milne had with his mother, him, I think the part where he went to war is true as well, and there are some inaccuracies with the end scroll, like, they say that C.R. Milne never took any of the money from Winnie the Pooh. They say he never took any of the money for himself. He did take some of that money to help his daughter, because he had to,
Which is not inaccurate, it's just misleading.
Yeah, it's misleading. It's, like, very just... I get it. It's too long for a closing text scroll. Okay. But... that being said, I think that the movie that was trying to be more historically accurate and being more true to life did a lot more emotionally and story-wise to, like, tell a story and have a message than the movie that was more fantasy and also had just more wiggle room to kind of do whatever it wanted. It just ended up fumbling around and just being, like, really cookie-cutter and bland, whereas the movie that had the harsher constraints of being true to life was able to bring out more genuine emotion.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about Goodbye Christopher Robin was they included some of the elements that you oftentimes don't see with children in movies, and that is the fits, the constant going from extreme happiness to miserable frustrations, throwing things around. That's how kids act. Mm-hmm. We don't see that oftentimes in films, and when we do,
it's usually really obnoxious.
Yeah, it's really obnoxious. You don't feel for the child. You just are annoyed with the child, and I don't blame the child actors for that. I blame the writing, the direction, all that kind of stuff. And I will say that Goodbye Christopher Robin is pretty underrated for that aspect. You know, I think
Billy Moon was phenomenal in the movie. Just the child actor was really, really good, very, very believable. But they wrote his childlike perspective from a very understanding point. Like, I think a lot of people can remember their emotional roller coasters being that age and can really identify with the way that he behaves. Even though it's not logical or rational, we can all understand it very well.
Well, and a lot of reasons why we can is because we've seen this happen to constant celebrity kids. You know, like when they're growing up, they, they're constantly, asked questions have photos taken, and then you have stuff like Drew Barrymore, who like turns to drugs, for a good period of her childhood, and then has to recover after that. I mean, we're seeing it a lot with pretty much anybody who's been a part of the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds has been pretty well adjusted. Justin Timberlake's been pretty well adjusted. They're boys, though, so, you have a better chance of coming out unscathed if you're a boy.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf definitely did not come out unscathed.
But that being said, you could have certainly done worse with Christopher Robin, and I still will say that it's one of the stronger live action adaptations, because I just feel that, what are they doing? I'm slightly intrigued by the new Mary Poppins movie, just because why?
Why make a sequel?
Yeah.
How does that even come about, really? There's such a full stop close to the end of Mary Poppins.
Well, also it's a live action movie where 90% of the people who are in the movie are dead.
Yeah, it's not even close.
And none of the actors really look like
the
character. Emily Blunt does not look like Julie Andrews at all.
Dude, I'm still really mad about that. I don't understand casting Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins at all. Partly because in my mind she is very much typecast as I'm gonna kick your ass badass kind of character. But also we already knew who the best Mary Poppins would be. Kristen Bell was phenomenal as Mary Poppins on Funny or Die. Why would you hire anybody else, really?
And also she has a good singing voice.
Yeah,
so.
She's got the chops. She can do the acting. She has a similar look. She can't be blonde, but you can work around that. That's fine. I don't understand why you didn't just cast Kristen Bell to be Mary Poppins. Why would you not do that? Really, why would you not do that?
I know some people might find it annoying, but I think Anne Hathaway could possibly be a good Mary Poppins, just because she does have singing chops, and you're just looking at me shaking your head.
I like Anne Hathaway. I think she's a very talented actress, but I know she's one of those people where the people who don't like her have just this irrational thing where there's something about her that just instinctively annoys them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I can't describe it. I think she's fine, but I get why you wouldn't want to put her as Mary Poppins for that
It's kind of
reason.
like the Jim Carrey thing. If you don't like Jim Carrey, then, you immediately... But then I'm just yeah, but have you seen I Love You, Philip Morris? Or
yeah, but maybe that means...
The Truman Show?
But maybe that means Jim Carrey shouldn't be put front and center as a childhood role model in that case.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. So Emily Blunt, let's hope she does the singing right, because we are really in desperate need of good singing in anything right now, because La La Land was not impressive. I am not a musician, but I am not the only person who winced when words came out of those people's mouths in that movie.
Literally, as soon as I heard Emma Stone humming, because there's a scene where she's in the mirror and she's humming before she ever has a singing part. She's humming in the mirror and I'm like, oh my god, she can't sing. What? What? And I was just she's not singing in this movie, right? Please tell me she doesn't have any musical numbers in this movie. Immediately. And I'm not a musician either. I can't even tell you specifically what it is. But we all listen to music. We all can subconsciously tell what sounds good and what doesn't. And what I heard was she has no capability to sing whatsoever. And if that happens consistently.
Here's the thing. If you think she sounds good in La La Land, I will strongly suggest that you watch clips of her doing Cabaret, and then compare it to Liza Minnelli,
God.
and it's like night and day.
But if you can avoid, if you can avoid seeing her performance in Cabaret, please just avoid that at all costs. It's so fucking painful. Like, oh my god, it's so terrible. It's so terrible. Oh my god.
But going back
But this has been a consistent thing. And in something like The Jungle Book, it was a little bit more okay just because the musical numbers were more subdued. Mm-hmm. They weren't big, loud musical numbers, so to speak. They were just kind of like... They were more going towards the idea of, like, normal singing, styling. And
like the bare necessities
while they're, like... It's just the two of them singing... to each other for fun.
Yeah, and that worked really well.
But they did that with Scarlett Johansson's song, which was not good, but it was fine. It was fine. And then they did the same thing.
That was in the credits, right, though?
It was in the credits.
The Trust in Me?
Yeah, which was a smart idea. It wasn't
actually in the movie.
Yeah, that was a smart idea because it was not good enough to put in the movie, let's be honest. But then you also had Christopher Walken, who does have singing chops. But he does. He is a he's definitely a trained dancer. He's got great moves.
I will say that he is a better dancer than he is a singer.
He's a way better dancer than he is a singer.
Yeah, you gotta watch the Fatboy Slim video.
Yes, yes. But that was still the correct choice for his song, the way that they did it. Christopher Walken was the correct choice for King Louis. Because King Louis is the only thing I liked in that movie, because I don't know why they made him fucking giant, but he was really bizarre and surreal, and it was the only thing that was kind of different, and I was just super unexpected by it. Like, I was super not expecting it. And then he starts talking, and it's Christopher Walken, and he just, like, has this weird way of talking, and then he sings, like, this kind of odd song, and it all kind of just works together as being, like, very confusing and not knowing what's going on, but it works. It was definitely the right creative choice there. Yes. But that's not what the trend should be. Like, Disney shouldn't look at that and be like, okay, let's just apply that to all of our movies. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Was there a song in Christopher Robin? I can't remember.
No, there were no songs in Christopher Robin. There were no songs in Goodbye Christopher Robin. I think they did the Winnie the Pooh little hum at a certain point, but there wasn't like a song.
Right, yeah.
Don't listen to me, I'm sick. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean, like singing kind of thing.
Right.
Like I cannot do.
Yeah, so Disney is coming out with these like either twice a year or like once a year, but I know that the Mary Poppins Returns
that's later this year.
Comes later this year. Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it, which is intriguing.
And also weird.
Yeah.
Why is... Like, I'm just hoping to God that they're not going to have him try to do a Cockney accent, because it was bad enough in the original.
Also,
don't make that same mistake twice.
Also,
please.
as much as I love everything that I've seen of Hamilton, please don't make him rap in this movie.
Okay, let me put it to you like this. He had no missteps in Moana. He had no missteps in Moana, so I kind of just trust him implicitly. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. You wrote a song for the Decemberists and it worked. You wrote a whole soundtrack for Moana and it was awesome. You can do whatever you want. If you can do those two things, you're golden. You can't make any bad decisions as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I guess that's fair enough.
How do you make a Disney princess soundtrack and a song for the Decemberists? Like, how does that happen? He didn't make it for them. But then it kind of turned into that, and it's awesome.
In another interesting twist of events, Tim Burton is making the next live-action Disney adaptation.
And we can look forward to that coming out soon.
Of Dumbo, which... Okay, first of all, given Tim Burton's history with Disney, I find it weird that he's making a Disney film.
It's because Disney still owns his soul.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, literally, once you work for Disney, they own you. Like, you will never escape. Tim Burton never really stopped working with Disney. Disney has still made a lot of his movies. Frankenweenie was a Disney movie.
It was?
Yeah, because they had the rights to the original short film, so they also distributed the full-length animated film. Like, he's never really gotten away from them. So, like...
And, like, Ed Wood was Miramax. Yeah.
Miramax. Like, he's never really gotten away from them. And I kind of want to blame them for how bad he is now. But, because, like, nobody comes out of the Mickey Mouse Club unscathed. Like, it doesn't happen. So, but...
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. The trailer looks pretty bad. Dumbo looks really cute. Like, the design for Dumbo is, like, really cute. And I did see, like, a segment of the pink elephant, and I'm half excited and half concerned, because partly I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna do the pink elephant scene again. Oh my god, that shows that you've got guts, and, like, you have the balls to actually do it. And then I'm like, but do you, though? Because, like, how are you gonna, like, even come close to the just, like, batshit insanity that was the pink elephants on parade? Like, how are you gonna do that a second time? Like, I'm really worried that they're going to put the kids' gloves on for that scene. But then also the big thing is it looks like there's too many freaking people.
Yeah.
Humans. Why?
Dumbo was a movie where people were sidelined. Yes, people were part of the circus, but that was it. Like, you didn't, like, really see the audience. You really didn't see anybody else except for, like, you know, a couple circus members, because it was about Dumbo's experience. Dumbo is the main character of Dumbo. And it doesn't look like Dumbo is the main character in this movie. No, he seems like a prominent character, but it looks more like, you know...
It looks like it's a love triangle. Like, well, it looks like it's a love triangle story, and it's like their version of The Greatest Showman, and it's gonna be about the people in the circus, and will they, won't they, blah, 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 and it's like, oh my god, we came here to see the elephant, shut up.
Well, yeah, it also looks like a movie that's more about people's relationship to the animal than the animal's relationship to all the experiences that he's going through, which is really what makes Dumbo a really strong film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. We haven't seen any trailers for Mulan, but I do know that the villain...
We don't know that. We don't know, because, like, there was a while where the thing was, oh, hey, we all found out that Mulan is actually going to be about a white dude in China, and that turned out to not be true. Either they scrapped it and they changed it for the better, obviously, or it just was never true and it was just rumors gone amok. Who knows? So, like, I'm trying to hold off and hope that didn't happen, because it's stupid, and I'm really hoping that we have better shit to look forward to than that. I cried.
We also have the Aladdin movie that's coming out, which
I
think the casting for Aladdin's right, but Princess Jasmine, although she's part Middle Eastern, the actress looks too white. I get that she's half and half, but
she's also from freaking Little Mix. Like, don't put Little Mix in a Disney princess movie. Like, can you not, please? Can you get somebody who can, like, actually sing? I know. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. She has a lot of love, especially for her vocals. But I'm like, dear God, can you just get, like, a classically trained musician to be your lead singer?
I mean, they could auto-tune her like they did with Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast.
No! That was so terrible! That was so awful. Oh my God. Emma Watson was such a bad choice for, like, all of the reasons. Like, that was such a bad idea.
The only good choice that I can even see slightly is she kind of looks like the animated character, and that's about it.
Yeah, but that's not why they picked her. They picked her because McFeminism was a hot selling ticket. So they picked, like, hey, you're a prominent, outspoken feminist. We're going to put you in our feminist character. And just make sure that there is no feminism attached to it whatsoever.
Well, yeah,
just the fact that we put you there is enough. It's good. It's good.
Well, the big thing about Beauty and the Beast is a lot of people have complained that it's, like, antithetical to feminism because there's, what do you call that thing?
Stockholm Syndrome?
Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah.
That's not what it is, and that wasn't accurate to the animated film at all, but also they didn't fix that in the live action movie. Like, they made it worse. They made the relationship so much worse in the live action movie. It doesn't make any sense. But they were like, they had Emma Watson go out and like all these interviews, and she's like, yeah, Belle's gonna be even better now. She's gonna be like an inventor. And it's like, okay, but she didn't do anything.
Yeah,
like, she didn't invent something to help her in her situation.
Yeah, you could have copied Lemony Snicket and done something with Belle, but you didn't do that.
Yeah, Violet would have been a really good role model for, like, what Belle could have been, but no, you didn't do any of that. You actually dumped her down substantially by, like, the whole thing of, she's like, oh yeah, I read Shakespeare. My favorite play is Romeo and Juliet. And it's like, why? Why would that be her favorite play? No, it doesn't make any sense. She likes stories about, like, adventure and disguise and running around and, like, and now she's like, I just like the love stuff. I just like the love stuff because it's like, I'm a girl. And it's like, why don't you like, out of any of the Shakespeare stuff, like, why don't you like something a little bit more substantial? Like, you could be into Much Ado About Nothing. You could be into Twelfth Night. You could be into don't be into The Tempest. The Tempest is bad. Don't be into that.
What?
Midsummer Night's Dream would be cheesy, but
what?
Like that's
seriously,
that's fine.
The Tempest.
The Tempest is pretty bad.
What?
From like a modern lens, that would be a really bad one for her to be
Okay, because I was about to say, The Tempest is literally my favorite Shakespeare.
But from a modern perspective, maybe her favorite play shouldn't be the one where the prince says, oh, hey, I'm totally in love with this hot banging chick as long as she hasn't been raped. Ha! Like, maybe that's not a good choice. I mean, really the only worst option she could have picked is like, oh, Taming of the Shrew is my favorite. Like, that would have been really bad. But Romeo and Juliet's pretty bad. Why did you pick that as, like, her favorite play? Like, just dumbing down her imagination and her intelligence to just, like, well, star-crossed lovers, you know, like... And then you brought in this whole stupid bullshit where it's like, okay, it's not a period piece, but you're like, oh yeah, in this version of events, like, girls aren't allowed to read. And she's trying to teach a little girl to read, and we have to tell her no. As though,
which is totally not historically accurate.
It's not historically accurate at all. Beauty and the Beast was written by a woman and published in a magazine for women to read. Specifically, it's such bullshit to then just, like, take this product and be like, hey, the patriarchy says you can't read, when, like, no, you're just making up oppression at that point. That's bullshit.
Yeah. But going back to Christopher Robin...
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
Literally anytime we talk about the Beauty and the Beast movie, I'm just like, but there's so much! Why?
Yeah, but going back to the Christopher Robin movie, you know, it is an interesting adaptation, and I actually find it...
Wait, the Disney Christopher Robin?
Yes.
Okay.
I do find it to be an interesting adaptation of the animated films. Obviously, there could have been more that could have been done with it. I think it's fine, but it doesn't raise any stakes. It doesn't elevate the material at all. And I feel a little sad about that. Because it doesn't have to be better than the 1970s one, but I'd like it to be its own thing. And it seems like much of the good stuff about that movie is banked on nostalgia, which is a big problem that I have with a lot of movies and a lot of pop culture now, that you can't create good original stuff. You're always trying to remind people of what things used to be.
But at the same time, I feel like the Disney Christopher Robin movie didn't really pull at my nostalgia heartstrings as much as it should have. There were a couple moments when I heard Jim Cummings doing the Tigger, and I wasn't distracted by how terrifying his face was. And he does it like, woohoo! And I was like, oh my god, I'm 5, yes! Tigger, where have you been all my life? But that was like a minute. That was like a fleeting second.
Well, and all the pooisms, because, like, you know, absolutely nailed Winnie the Pooh as a character.
They did, but he was always surrounded by other things.
Yeah.
Like, I was never taken back to the 100-acre forest. Even when we went there in the movie, there were still all of these sort of, like, impending elements that just wouldn't let me just, hey, we're back, even for a little bit. I just never really felt it. Like, the closest was maybe that tea party towards the beginning. I was kind of like, this is kind of nice. And then the plot came in and just ruined everything.
Yeah, well, I think the Tea Party is sort of a recreation of what was provided in the 70s film.
It was, absolutely, which is why, like, at that point I was kind of like, oh, hey, I'm getting nestled in here. This is what the movie's gonna be. I like this. Nope. Forget about that.
I don't know. I find the other stuff cute. I did think it was weird that they absolutely set it up in the movie that Winnie the Pooh and his friends are actually tangible, real beings inside the world.
But that's just Disney logic. Like, all of the live-action Disney movies have this backwards nonsense, like, kind of, how do you say? Like, it's counter... Like, how do you say? It's like a... Like,
counterintuitive?
It's not counterintuitive. It's like the logical thing where, like, the two things disprove each other.
I don't know the word.
Okay, but Disney is, in their live action things, their logic never makes any sense. They're always just, like, full of contradictions. That's the word. Very contradictory logic throughout. And you had that very much in the, like, hey, we're gonna take care of, like, we're gonna pull these characters entirely away from their historical context. Like, you had that kind of contradiction in it. You have the thing of, like, oh, Tigger is super old now, but Roo is still a little kid. What? And then you have the thing where it's like, oh yeah, he played with his imaginary friends and they were his stuffed animals, except for they're all real. Like, it's always full of contradictions like that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of been the case with the story of Winnie the Pooh sometimes, where it's like, you know, they're his toys, but, like, some of them aren't, or what's going on.
Because
like,
Owl and Rabbit are real.
Yeah, like, that's one thing that's kind of fascinated me. And interestingly enough, Owl and Rabbit don't come to London.
Right, because they're real. Like, they're not going to do that. And there were, like, some really nice things in Christopher Robin that were actually specific only to the books and not necessarily to the movies. So that was kind of, like, it was cool that they were trying to do that a little bit more. But then at the same time, watching Goodbye Christopher Robin, where you could see, like, the actual stuffed animals, that was more nostalgic to me. Honestly, even though they never came to life and they didn't say anything unless people were making them say things, I felt more nostalgia, more just like being reunited with my childhood when Margot Robbie and Dominic Gleeson were just holding these stuffed animals and just, like, making them talk. And I don't want to say that to put down, like, all the work and effort that went into the Christopher Robin movie, because, like, the CGI is very, very good. The eyes terrify me sometimes, but, you know, okay. Some of the writing was decent. The voice acting was all very, very good. It was much better writing for the other one. And it just felt more like the actual just condensed essence of what Winnie the Pooh was.
Yeah, and that is kind of an interesting thing when you have two films that come out close to each other and they have similar themes. Like, I feel really bad about what has happened to Andy Serkis's Mowgli.
Yeah.
Which was originally going to just be a Jungle Book prequel, and they had to change the name. They had to move the time.
Which I think that's good. We don't need a fifth movie called The Jungle Book. Like, Mowgli is a better name. Mowgli is a much better name.
So the Jungle Book live action films have always had a special place in my heart, and I know I'm going into a million tangents, but I don't know. I'm fine with it being called the Jungle Book, but I get what you're saying.
Well, like Mowgli
for audiences that aren't me.
Yeah, I mean, like, we don't need another movie that's called a book, for one. But also, like, I like that he just called it Mowgli. Like, that's the center of the story. It's gonna be about Mowgli. That's only good in my eyes. You're pulling more focus into it. You're setting yourself apart a little bit. And my understanding from what his vision of the movie is that that's accurate. So for me, like, the name isn't that big of a thing. And I know a lot of people were upset that Netflix kind of swooped in on it towards the very end. As far as I'm concerned, them staying as far away from Warner Brothers as humanly possible is only a good thing.
Yeah, we need to do a podcast or a video essay on
the long, sordid history of Warner Brothers just ruining everything it touches.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't blame Andy Serkis for wanting to get away from Warner Brothers by any means necessary after everything that happened with The Hobbit, because he wasn't just acting in that movie. He wasn't just Gollum in that movie. He played a couple parts, but he was also I think he was the second unit director for a lot of that movie. So he was very involved behind the scenes with a lot of the, like, production side as well. So I think it's like Disney, you know, once Warner Brothers has its claws in you, like, they own you. So him getting away from Warner Brothers is only a good thing in my eyes. Like, look at Guillermo del Toro. Like, they just destroyed him. Like, they destroyed him. They just ripped his heart out and ate it in front of him, and he was just, like, having a gaping hole in his chest for a while. Like, Warner Brothers... So, in my eyes, it's only a good thing. Even though it's so late in post-production. Okay. I'm cool with it. I still have faith. I still have faith in Mowgli.
Yeah, but going back to it, I'm really curious to see what happens in the future with Disney live-action adaptations. Quite frankly, I would like to see them adapt more fairy tales like they did for the longest time. And, you know, I'm really frustrated at Frozen.
But the last time they did that was Frozen.
Well, yeah, I'm really frustrated with Frozen because they had been sitting on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen for over 5 decades. They were going to make a Snow Queen adaptation. They were going to do something like that. The Snow Queen is a very different story than what Frozen is. And quite frankly, I don't like Frozen. I get that some people do. It's not my cup of tea.
But, I don't like Frozen either, and I really hate Elsa's song in it. But Elsa's character is one of the best characters they have written in a very, very, very long time. And the problem is that the movie sidetracks everything that makes her interesting and puts it into a little box, and it's not important to the movie.
I mean, quite frankly, I would say that Officer Hops and Moana, like, are vastly more interesting and more complicated characters than anything in Frozen. I don't think they're more
complicated characters. Elsa's character is really intriguing. You just don't get any time to spend with her and, like, really get into her emotions.
Well, I think part of the big problem with that movie is the fact that Elsa should have been the villain of the movie. I get that there's, you know, complex dynamics with it. You could have done something more like Fox and the Hound, where there isn't, like, a said bad guy, but you like,
it should have been a lot more like Fox and the Hound. You're absolutely right. That would have made it a lot more interesting, and that would have put Elsa's character far more at the heart of the movie.
Yeah, but then you get into elements where it's slow for kids, you know, which, man,
so was the Fox and the Hound.
Yeah, but, like, here's the thing, they put the kid gloves on with all their new stuff. Like, you know, anything that Disney touches now, I'm always fearful that it's not going to, like, have an edge to it. Like, I'm not going to feel the stakes. And
Elsa could have had that very easily. Like, the reason why I said she is more complicated than even someone like Moana is she has all of this power. She has all of this potential. But she does. She's a superhero.
No, freaking no. Like, I literally can't comprehend this right. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, she is literally a superhero. She has superpower. She has like this sort of unlimited potential. But she is so terrified by the danger of her powers that she just caves in on herself emotionally. She just walls herself off from everyone. She becomes like very self-deprecating. She becomes very down on herself, and that's something that a lot of kids can identify with but don't get to identify with in a lot of children's media. You see this a little
I get
bit
that more
now
with the villain in Tangled than what you're saying with Elsa.
with Mother Gothel.
Yes, I do.
No, that's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. No. But then Elsa is also the scariest I've seen a good character go. Like, there is that point where she does literally almost kill somebody. Like, really graphically.
Okay.
And if you had pushed more in that area, that would have been so much more interesting. Like, Elsa had the potential to be a much better character. Like, with Moana, she's a great character, but most of her thing is confidence. There's not really that stakes of, like, could she actually hurt somebody? Like there was with Elsa. We never had, like, a hero character, but especially not a female hero, where that was something that could happen. Like, Ariel was never actually going to accidentally murder somebody. Like, that was not a thing that could have ever happened. Even Mulan killed a bunch of people, but Elsa seemed more dangerous because it was so unintentional. That's a lot darker and more complicated, of like not knowing how to control your emotions and how like lashing out at people can have these devastating unintended consequences, and how do you balance that in yourself. The problem is that that's what Frozen should have been about, and you spent almost no time with her character, and you spent almost no time on those issues. You had to push her to the side, focus on Anna because she's the funnier, happier, go-lucky character, have your silly, stupid songs, and your dumb little animated snowman, and your freaking little trolls that have nothing to do with anything, and then you have to have, like, your actual villain who was a good guy all along, just so you can have your stupid little twist. Like, all of this stuff that's
a
fluff
problem
and
that I've
doesn't
been,
have anything to
that's
do
a
with
problem
it.
that I've been having with Disney films in general for the longest time, of, like, the good guy who gets revealed as villain. It's a plot twist that's been happening over and over again, which means that Disney films now don't have good villains. I mean, you had it in Moana, which I'm fine with Moana. I love that character, but, you know, that was another example of that with The Rock's character.
I mean, but there wasn't a twist of, like, twist, he's a bad guy. Like, it was more of, he was trying to be the bad guy at the beginning, and the twist is that he was actually fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, like Frozen, like Toy Story 3, like, you know, a lot of Disney / Pixar things is like, you know, it seems that we have gotten away from the villains and the villain songs and stuff like that, which, yeah, you get the crab in Moana, but like
the crab is not a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he doesn't have anything to do with anything. It was literally just, you had a story that takes place in Oceania. Like, you were not gonna not have Jermaine Clemens come in and do a song somewhere in there. Like, yeah. That was just your obligatory Flight of the Conchords song for you guys. You know, it was fine.
Yeah, but
that's not a villain song.
Right. And yeah, I'm sorry. We've gone off on a lot of tangents, but
that's what Disney does to you.
Yeah, exactly. and this is part of Disney's new live action lineup. And
they were totally outdone, like, on almost every level except for costuming and budget. This other Goodbye Christopher Robin movie that came out slightly before just totally swept it all away in every category. The writing was much better, the direction was much better, the performances were much better. It was a lot more heartfelt, it was a lot more genuine, it had a lot more stakes to it. The only thing is the thing with the son towards the end of the movie, like the fake out in the movie. Like, we need to stop doing that. We need to stop doing the fake out stuff. Like, seriously.
Especially for a historical piece.
Yeah, like, why would you do that? Just don't. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Other than that one big thing, it was Bob Iger is really hurting the Disney franchise right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone on and on and on about what's been going on with Star Wars, and I don't think that Star Wars is the only franchise that Disney is screwing up. The only franchise that I think Disney is not screwing up right now is the Marvel franchise, which at the beginning, and you can go back and listen to us talk about the early Avengers movies, I thought it sucked at the beginning, but for some reason, the Marvel Cinematic Universe figured out a way to turn things around and be the most interesting franchise, major franchise that's out right now that is still continuing.
Yeah.
Because all the ones that I've been excited about are now done.
Right. And
I'm no longer excited about Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of it is Disney is so far removed from Marvel because as Marvel has become ever more, just increasingly more and more successful in terms of their critical reception, in terms of their box office numbers, in terms of their merchandising, in terms of their global outreach, in terms of their selling to kids, selling to teenagers, selling to grown-ups, like of all ages. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. Disney has given them more and more and more creative leeway, just always. And they've used that creative leeway to good effect. They've pushed things further because they have more room to do what they want to do, and they're smart about doing what they want to do. With Star Wars, I think a big part of the reason why it's going badly is because it started off on the wrong foot, and with every subsequent misstep and mishandling and mistake, Disney has gotten even tighter on it. You know, I think the big thing was after The Force Awakens happened, there was a big problem with the merchandising. Like the merchandising that they had set up for The Force Awakens. And I think from that point, they were like, okay, so the movie's doing well, but you have this problem with the merchandising. That's where a lot of the money comes in. We need to step in and intervene. We need to start putting creative pressure on you here, here, here. And with that, coupled with all of the ongoing problems they've always had, just starting off from the beginning of the saga, and all of this just like has been snowballing out of control.
Yeah, but like that being said, has there been merchandising for Christopher Robin? Like,
I haven't been in a toy section of a store in a while, so I would have a hard time judging that.
I do think it's interesting that, like, at least to my knowledge, that hasn't been something that's like prominently been featured.
Yeah, but I haven't been like in the toy section of a Target or a Walmart or even a pharmacy. I haven't been to Hot Topic. I haven't been to like a fast food restaurant like McDonald's and seen like their toy selection. So I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now. I'm sure they got something. Yeah, most of this stuff is from the
original series.
Yeah, from the original series. So
doesn't even have to do with the new movie.
So I do think that's interesting that they're not.
I guarantee Hot Topic has a Christopher Robin lineup.
Are you? Do you think it's actually going to be Christopher Robin, or do you think it's going to be Winnie the Pooh?
I bet they have like some Christopher Robin stuff.
Okay.
Well, look it up. I'm serious. I mean, that being said, I don't know what you could capitalize on in Christopher Robin that's different than Winnie the Pooh. Like, they didn't introduce any new elements. Like, the Maleficent movie, the Beauty and the Beast movie, the Cinderella movie, those all had, like, new, different designs. And you could kind of tell what was from the animated film and what was from Winnie the Pooh. So I don't know, like, what you would do that's different.
Okay, so the only thing they have is a map of 100 Acre Woods and the compass from the movie.
That's cool, though. That compass is cool. And they come together as like a package deal?
No, that's a clock. Sorry, I immediately thought it was a compass because of the movie, and I looked at it for a second later. It's a clock.
Okay, so they just have the map wall art. And that's it. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And that's from the anime. Yeah, that's not from the movie at all.
Yeah,
and then they have like one t-shirt.
Yeah. From a marketing perspective, though, like, what would you change? Like, what would you... Like, what product could you make that's specifically from this movie?
I would say that you could make all the stuffed animals that you could buy at the store.
But I mean, like, I think this is more of just a, like, hey guys, don't you want to go out and get all your childhood stuff? Don't you want to get, like, your Winnie the Pooh books and your Winnie the Pooh stuffed animals and t-shirts and mugs and Christmas ornaments? And, I mean, I have my Piglet Christmas ornament. Like, that's not unreasonable. Like, it might just be to reinvigorate the merchandising they already have, because, like, you're right, other than, like, just some minor updates to the stuffed animal designs, there's nothing, like, what are you gonna do? Get one of the suitcases that Christopher Robin manufactures? Like, what are you gonna get from that movie?
I don't know, maybe like a poster on the wall, the best thing is to do nothing, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
which
like,
we
that
gotta
could
get
easily
in,
be,
we gotta
that
get
could
into.
easily be like a Hot Topic t-shirt.
We gotta get into, because, like, okay, corporate Disney just decided to say the most populous thing ever within their movie.
Which I knew they were gonna do. I literally knew within the first 10 minutes of the Christopher Robin movie that, oh, there's gonna be a problem at his business, and it's gonna come down to the wire at the end of the movie, and he's gonna propose something that's super, super populous that the Disney company would never be okay with.
Yeah,
and never
because
support. And I was super right.
Just look at what they do to their employees, especially at Disney World.
Especially the animators, like anyone who works for them, really.
Yeah.
So, do you want to explain?
All right, so essentially, he's in a board meeting, and he's trying to explain what their new business plan is, and he says that the thing that we have to do is nothing. We don't need to fire these people. We lay these people off. We don't need to, change our business model. We need to allow people to have more time off and paid vacation so that they can be with their families, and so that that extra energy that they have reinvigorates the company. Granted, that is a model that completely works, and there's several countries that implement those, and it works out great. That is not a model that Disney goes on, because
also he specifically was like, we need to stop catering to the 1% wealthy people with our luggage, making it expensive and like a luxury item. We need to make our luggage available to everyone, because if you give everyone at your company paid time off and then go away on vacation, they're gonna need to buy your luggage. You know, if the everyman, and like at that point he's just like trying to write laws into existence, like,
yeah. And also, like, everybody knows that Disney has their top tiered shit and their poor people shit, like, yeah, that's just something that's known. You know, there's the Disney shit that you get at Walmart, and there's the Disney shit that you get at the Disney store.
Yep.
Or, you know, the experience that you get when you have a Holiday Inn in Orlando and go to Disney World, versus when you stay at the Disney Hotel and, you know, have resorts. The full... Yeah.
Also, I can speak from experience. Your experience at the castle will be very different depending on your income.
Well, I explain, because I have no idea.
The actual Disney castle, I believe you can stay there. Like, I think that's their most expensive suite is in the Disney castle.
Okay, because
I think so. I might be wrong about that, or maybe that was true at one point, but I'm pretty sure, like, and I know that they definitely have, like, some stuff there where it's like, oh, you can see, like, the people you want to see and have specialty events, but, like, that's all super expensive. I remember when I went to the castle, I could go in, but where I could go was extremely limited. Okay. Because it was like, you can come in the front into sort of like the food court area, and like that's as far as you're allowed to go with your pass.
Disney and their passes.
Mm-hmm. I didn't care. I saw Pluto. Like, that's what I cared about, so I was fine. I didn't care that I never saw Cinderella. I saw Pluto. It's fine.
The only character that I cared about seeing was the big mouse. That was it for me.
Yeah.
Anyways, that has been our Winnie the Pooh discussion and our discussion on
Disney
and what they're doing with their live action stuff. So if you
I do want to say before I go, next week I'm planning on going to the theater to see Snow White on the big screen. I'm very excited about it.
Are you going to bring your 3D glasses?
No. Yes, of course I'm going to bring my 3D glasses. Like, duh. Obviously. I'm going to bring my big trench coat, big mug of beer. Actually, I can't bring it. That theater does have an open bar. I'll get a big mug of beer at my side and just sing obnoxiously the whole time. It'll be awesome. I actually have gremlin ears.
Nice.
I do have real gremlin ears. I'll wear those. That'll be great. But I'm super excited because I love the Snow White movie. Not because of Snow White. Like, most people don't really care about the Disney princesses in the older movies. Snow White is like one of the creepiest ones. It's the best. The evil queen is super creepy originally when she's like, just rip her heart out and bring it to me. But then when she turns into the old hag, she's the scariest thing in the world. It's awesome. She's the only Disney villain who looks straight in the camera. Like, she'll talk into the camera like she can see you. And she knows where
I could have sworn Cruella de Vil did that.
No, she like looks ahead. So like sometimes the framing, she's like looking straight out. But like in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, she'll turn and she'll look into the camera and like deliver something. Like kind of breaking the fourth wall, but it's creepy. It's awesome. It's so great. And like the whole thing where she's lost in the woods and there's all the creepy branches coming out to get her. And then the point at the end where the evil queen is so evil that God himself just had to smote her out of existence. Just like lightning strike the cliff. She falls off and then the big rock comes after her just to make sure she's squished dead.
Yeah.
The movie's so good.
All right, so let us know what you think about Disney as a company. Let us know what you thought about the Christopher Robin movie, and if you saw Goodbye Christopher Robin, which, if you've seen the Christopher Robin movie, and even if you haven't, I would highly recommend because it is a pretty fascinating story.
And it's on HBO now. If you have cable that includes HBO, if you have the HBO Now app, it's right there.
Yeah, hopefully it gets on other platforms so I can recommend it there, but right now that is the only platform that I know of it being on. Let us know what you think about Disney live-action adaptations.
And
this has
Disney
been a subject.
in general.
Yeah, and just Disney in general.
Because everybody has very strong opinions about Disney. And, like, because the Disney canon is so extensive, people will do exactly what we do, and they just go on and on for hours and hours. Just Disney, Disney, Disney.
If you want to listen to a podcast that's a little bit more focused, we do have a podcast on Patreon where we just talk about Christopher Robin and sort of our issues and ideas about that film, and that's on Patreon. All you got to do is donate $1, and you can listen to our reviews of that. We also did a review of the first 2 episodes of Insatiable, which was insufferable.
That would be a much better title.
So, thanks for listening.